In 2013, Elon Musk was on the stage at the Milken Global Conference. In that occasion, he outlined his visions for the future about electric cars, solar power, and making humans a multiplanetary species. 11 years after that event, Musk was back on the same stage, again in front of Alan Milken. Musk was asked to comment on several issues he addressed in the past. In this video, we focus on his current visions of making humans a multiplanetary species. In addressing this topic, we also hear about more terrestrial issues, like population decline and artificial intelligence. Let's take a listen.
Like, let's make life multiplanetary and be a spacefaring civilization, be out there among the stars. I think there are things that, like, you have to be excited about the future. Life cannot just be about solving one problem after another. There have to be things that really sort of move your heart and that make you excited to wake up in the morning. And I think becoming a spacefaring civilization is one of those things. If you ask kids anywhere around the world, like, what are some of the most inspiring things? You can ask a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, anywhere in the world, and they're going to say, space exploration is one of those things. And we want to make sure that that Apollo is not the high watermark. In fact, you mentioned at one point that you wrote a letter offering to run the Apollo program, I believe. You would have done a fantastic job. But the point is that the Apollo program was something that was inspiring to everyone around the world. And we don't want the Apollo program to be the high watermark of human exploration. And I think you want to have some sense that the future is going to be better than the past, that we're going to be out there, going to other star systems, and what you see in a science fiction, non-dystopian sci-fi story, of which there are not many, but like Star Trek, I suppose.
When talking about space, there is always a question about aliens. This event was an exception.
If we send probes out there, we might find the remains of long-dead alien civilizations. If physics is correct, the universe is about 13.8 billion years old. Earth is about 4.5 billion years old. But at 13.8 billion years, a civilization that even lasted 1 million years is 3 digits past the decimal point. And if you consider human civilization, I date it from the first writing. So that first writing was the ancient Sumerians, archaic pre-cuneiform, around 5,500 years ago. So that is 1/1,000,000th of Earth's lifespan. That's how long writing has existed. So if we were to last, as a civilization, for 1 million years, that would be incredible. And we would actually probably be in every part of the galaxy. So this causes me to think that, well, where are the aliens? It's the Fermi question. The great physicist, Italian physicist, Enrico Fermi, he's like, where are they? Now, a lot of people think there are aliens among us. Really, a lot of people think there are aliens, but I get asked that a lot. And for some reason, a lot of the same people who think there are aliens among us don't think we went to the moon, which I'm like, think about that for a second. But I think I would. I've not seen any evidence of aliens, and SpaceX with the Starlink constellation has roughly 6,000 satellites, and not once have we had to maneuver around a UFO. Okay, so we were like, hey, what's that? Is that an alien? Has occurred? Never. So I'm like, okay, I don't see any evidence of aliens, and I look at it. If somebody has evidence of aliens in a that's not just a fuzzy blob, then I'd love to see it, love to hear about it, but I don't think there is. So, which is actually reason for concern, because you could, if any civilization in the Milky Way, in our galaxy, were to last for 1 million years, even with a speed of travel that's far below the speed of light, like a few percent of speed of light, they could easily have explored and colonized the whole galaxy. So they haven't. So why not? I think the answer might be, or perhaps probably is, that civilization is precarious and rare, and that you should really think of human civilization as being like a tiny candle in a vast darkness, and we should do everything possible to ensure that that candle does not go out.
Then there is a segment during which Elon Musk goes deeply into civilizations and laws of physics. A segment that might require a playback to fully understand.
The fundamental invention that is necessary for humanity to become a multi-planet species is rapidly reusable, reliable rockets.
Yeah, I was trying to sound like a pirate, R. But yeah, rapidly reusable, reliable rockets. Space pirates for the win.
All right, here's some questions from the audience, Elon. Which one would you like to pick here?
Well, I guess let me maybe just touch upon why I think making life multiplanetary is important, because I think it's one of the things that gets us past one of the Fermi great filters. So in trying to sort of explain why do we not see aliens, there are various explanations for why we don't see aliens. Like what stopped those civilizations from expanding beyond their solar system, and what were the sort of they're sometimes called like Fermi filters. Well, if you don't become a multi-planet civilization, then you're simply waiting around until you die from a self-inflicted wound or from some natural disaster like the dinosaurs. You get hit by a big meteorite or something like that. Eventually something like that's going to happen. If you wait around long enough, the sun will expand to engulf Earth and will be incinerated. So that for sure is going to happen. Now, we've got some time before that happens. There are more near-term risks, but we want to try to get past the Fermi filter of being a single-planet civilization. Now, this is going to be somewhat cerebral to many people listening, but I think this is actually very important. We want to get past the Fermi filter of a single-planet civilization. The point is not to move from Earth to another planet and let Earth die. That's not what I'm saying at all. I want to be a multi-planet civilization so that we have planetary redundancy such that no single event can be the end of our civilization. That is the point of making life multiplanetary.
And then, to our surprise, with all the talk about artificial intelligence, there is one company and one industry where AI is not used: SpaceX and space missions.
I mean, oddly enough, one of the areas where there's almost no AI used is space exploration. So SpaceX uses basically no AI. Starlink does not use AI. I'm not against using it. It's just we haven't seen a use for it. But I mean, with any given variant of or improvement in AI, there's generally, like, I'll ask it questions about the Fermi paradox, about rocket engine design, about electrochemistry, and so far the AI has been terrible at all of those questions. So there's still a long way to go.
Back to Earth, there is another issue that makes humans at risk of extinction. Take a listen.
What needs to change so people start having more children?
Yeah, so this question has troubled me for a long time, because you can look at the demographics. It's a very slow-moving ship. I mean, you know who's going to be an adult in 20 years based on who was born last year. So, if you want to, I think, have a good approximation for population, really look at how many babies were born last year in a particular country, multiply that by life expectancy. That's the number of people that will be adults in that country. That's the steady state population if birth rate remains constant. Now, birth rate is not constant, it is dropping. So you look at the second derivative of birth rate, and actually we see an acceleration in the drop in the fertility rate. Second derivative of the fertility rate is very bad. So where does this lead? This does not lead to a greater civilization. This leads to a civilization that potentially dies not with a bang, but with a whimper in adult diapers. That is a sad ending.
So obviously we have countries that, like Korea, used to have a birth rate of 6, it's now 3/4.
Yeah.
Here's a light question for you. What do you
Elon, come pick
think
me
are
up.
the
I'll
biggest,
give you a baby, says one
what
of
do you
the...
think are the...
That is one of the things that says on the screen.
Yeah. I don't know if everyone heard that. You want to read it?
It says, Elon, come pick me up, I'll give you a baby. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I certainly encourage everyone in this room to have at least 3 children. Look, baby's got to come from somewhere, you know. And I think we just want to have, I don't know, I think we want to have like a slightly increasing population, not a plummeting population. You know, and I think this applies to all countries and cultures. Like, I don't think we want any country or culture to disappear. We want them to ideally flourish and not disappear. So, in fact, one of the things that is overlooked by probably most historians is the role of low birth rate in the decline of civilizations. So around, I think it was around 50 BC, Rome passed a bill to give a bonus to any Roman citizen that would have a 3rd child. So this was a birth rate was a problem in Rome in 50 BC. The Romans weren't making Romans. The same is true of ancient Greece. So there was a time from about 800 BC to 300-ish BC where the Greeks had a lot of kids, and a lot of surviving kids. Like the birth rate far exceeded the death rate, which is why you had Greek cities popping up all over the Mediterranean. But then, I think basically, it seems to be that prosperity destroys the birth rate. So when a civilization feels like it has no meaningful external threat and is very prosperous, that is what causes the birth rate to plummet. Somewhat counterintuitively, you think, well, if you've got more resources, surely that would lead to more kids. In fact, it is the opposite. The more prosperous a civilization, and the more a civilization feels that it does not need to defend against external threats, the lower the birth rate.
I'd say that, you know, there's a lot of research on this. There's really been 3. Number one, prosperity, as you've said. Number 2, improvements in healthcare. So in 1900, half the children died on the planet before their 5th. And the 3rd was the education of women. So we've had some pretty interesting questions put up here, but let's try this one. What keeps you up at night and what gives you joy?
Well, I think kids give me joy. So I probably get the most joy from my kids. You know, I'm not saying that that's the reason to have kids, because we should have them anyway, but I certainly, kids are the greatest source of joy in my life. In terms of what keeps me up at night, I guess it's anything that's like, I think, a civilizational risk. You know, if the birth rates continuing to plummet, I do think about the birth rates plummeting as being a civilizational risk. I think anything that undermines the foundations of democracy in America or elsewhere as a risk. I think anything that's leading us away from a merit-based system is a risk. I actually spend, I listen to I listen to like podcasts about the fall of civilizations to go to sleep. So perhaps that might be part of the problem here. There's literally a podcast called Fall of Civilizations, which I've listened to a few times. I'd also recommend Hardcore History if you haven't listened to that. It's a great podcast. I listen to history podcasts basically to go to sleep. So that's probably why I'm ruminating on these things as I go to sleep.